Yes.
Okay. So we'll wait for a few more minutes and then we'll start. Okay. So
Yeah.
do you guys have any queries on XPath? Actually, we have discussed XPath something like. So we have this discussed these XPaths. Okay. So do you guys have any doubt like why we use XPath, why not CSS? Because most of the protractor people say like CSS is the best one and not the XPath. You guys might have heard like that, but end of the day, it is both are same. Whether you use CSS selectors or XPath selectors, it's going to be the same. Once the HTML changes, okay, whether whatever the locator you use, it's going to break. Okay, so to avoid that kind of breakages, what we have to do is like we have to create the XPath in a way that it only based on that particular element. Okay, in that case, we will not be having any breaks. Even when the HTML code changes, it will be able to find the element unless that particular element changes.
We can use CSS in Protractor, right?
We can use all the locators.
All the okay.
We have like almost like 16 locators, 16 or 12 locators in Protractor. 8
Okay.
locators from Selenium and
Mhm.
4 locators from Protractor.
Okay.
Pawan, I have heard like in the Internet Explorer, like XPath will won't work for some of the elements.
It is not only the XPath, it also applicable for CSS. The way we have to write is like we should not depend on any parent. That's the thing with IE. You know what happens with you might have heard like this way, whatever you said, that is true. You know, the reason behind this particular failure is like whenever you change the zoom levels, okay, or whenever you change with a different version of IE, it changes the internal code, okay, because of which we will not be able to find the elements using locators. So that's why first we set for 100% zoom, but we can't make sure all the time it's going to be the 100% zoom and the elements are going to be in the same location. So something like yeah, IE what do you call that, relocates the HTML code, but when you see from the UI you might feel like there is no change at all in the UI, but internally the code will change. So because of which whenever you use longer XPaths, that time the XPath tends to fail. Okay, and most people say like we should use CSS, and as per me, like most of the people do not know how to use the CSS or how to create the CSS and use them.
But I heard like CSS is a little bit fast when compared to with XPath. Is this correct? Uh, I did attend yesterday session due to some function,
No, no, no,
but I went through this XPath. I have a little bit idea already here. That's not a problem.
no. So you might have heard like ID is faster, name is more faster, or something like that. These concepts also comes into play when you are reading the internet. But when you dig in deeper, the end of the day there are only two locators. One is XPath and other one is CSS. Okay, whether you use name or ID or any locator, end of the day it will be converted either into a CSS or into a XPath. Okay, so most of the time whatever you use it will be converted into CSS locators, and literally there is not that much change between CSS and XPath. Okay, there was one guy. Actually, I have executed a couple of things on that one, like to check like what happens when we use CSS and what happens when we use XPath, like the time delay in uh, thing. Okay, so anyway, in this session itself, while discussing on the CSS, we will try to find the same element using XPath and as well as the CSS, so that we will get to know like what is the time differences. But the time difference is very minor. Okay, and most of the time the CSS is used for decoration purpose. Like you might have heard like .css styling sheet. Okay, in that they will be using something like that. Let me showcase this is one of my websites styling sheet. Let me showcase it so that you guys can have a little idea. So I'm in this one, I'm just trying to find a button, okay, which trying to find an element which has id as download btn, okay, download button. So in this styling sheet, everything will be in css selectors, okay. So for styling purposes they tend to use it, and why they say is like when you use css it will be like more stronger than xpath, because if the css fails whatever you are writing, then obviously this css also is going to fail, right? So the rendering fails, so entirely the application's going to be a failure when our css locator fails. So this is one of the thing, and in similar way when we write with xpath we have the same disadvantages when we are writing with css as well, because when the html code changes, unless you are using a relative xpath, there is the same level of chance for failures when you use css or xpath. Okay. Okay guys, we'll start. Okay, so let's not waste your time. So today we are going to see like how to install this protractor and write your first test case.
Okay, bro.
Okay, let me uninstall a particular thing.
Pawan, today I'm executing one Selenium code,
Okay.
like a small code, okay. But when I'm checking in the Chrome, it is working fine. But whereas in the Mozilla, it is throwing some stale element exception.
Okay.
But I don't know what to do that one.
No, that is
No.
related with the page refreshes and Ajax statements. Okay, so when a page re-renders that particular same element, okay, so you might be having some delay in Chrome, okay, or the refresh is happening faster in Chrome. So because of which you are able to pass in the Chrome, but if you try to execute again and again in Chrome itself, you will see the failure. Okay, that is kind of a refreshing failure. So while we seeing the exceptions, I'll kind of allocate half of the session for this stale element reference exception, because that is kind of
Oh, okay.
okay. So as of now, you can consider like it's because of a refresh of that particular element.
Okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, no problem. I will check the solution online. Okay, if I'm not able to solve it, we'll discuss when it comes. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me close my. So guys, are you able to download and install JVM? Basically JDK.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. I hope you guys have this Node.js, right?
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Raghava? You might not be having. So try to download.
Yeah, I'm installed all the day.
Okay.
I'm installed everything. It's working fine. I just installed it.
Okay.
I'm installed this the software also, or Visual Studio Code.
Okay. What about you? What about you, Sanjay?
Yeah, I have Protractor installed and VS Code as well.
Okay, but let me, for this video purpose, let me install it. But
yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, but while installing, we will discuss some other topic.
Okay.
Fine. So once you download, actually you have to go to a Node.js site. Okay, for installing Node.js, I have to go here and you have to get the stable one, basically, which will be your recommended for most users. If you have lower versions also, we will not be having any issues. But let's install the recommended version, not the latest version, because latest versions always will be in the reiterations, something like they have already tested, but what happens is like there will be some features which are more advanced than the current situations, because of which they will be retesting and retesting. Even customers will send their surveys and feedbacks for that particular features. So because of which we shouldn't be using latest features. But unless if you are something like if you are a project expecting only to use the latest features, then you can go with the latest version. Okay, otherwise recommended for most users will be fine. Okay, so once let it download, it's taking little time. Okay, let me look for Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this is also something like Visual Studio only, but this is a freeware. You can use it for purpose, but Visual Studio will be having more features than this one. So based on your projects, you can use a Visual Studio Code or a WebStorm. WebStorm is kind of more faster than, not faster you can say. It will give like a more intuitive than this Visual Studio Code, and it gives a little more features. Something like when you have this Visual Studio Code, you will have some issues with while fetching and while pushing the code into repositories. But in case of what do you call that, WebStorm, it will be like a smooth transition. Like it will give you on the UI itself, like you can see like what are the changes we have to merge or what are the things we are going to push, something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's install Node.js. So I hope you guys remember that Node.js is developed based on JavaScript. Okay, so everything behind the Node.js is JavaScript. So whatever code you write in the JavaScript, it also works with Node.js. So here you will not be changing much changes on the Node.js setup. So you can directly go next and next and then install. So it might take a little time. So Node.js works based on the asynchronous processes. Basically, asynchronous process is nothing but it is something like multi-threading, but not a multi-threading. Okay, so all the asynchronous processes will try to run at the same time. Okay, and but Node.js will be having only one thread. But while we weave from as a weaver, we might think like there are multiple threads and multiple things are getting executed. But indirectly, there are asynchronous processes which are executing parallelly. Okay, so if you want to check Node version, you can use the Node-version that will fetch you the Node. And sometimes you might need to get the values from the OS. Okay, so JavaScript might help, but the base will be Node.js. Okay, so if you want to get like what is the system I'm using or what is the architecture of this particular system I'm using, so for that purpose you will be using a Node.js. Okay, something like you want to get the host name, or if you want to delete certain files from the folder, then you will be going for Node.js. The Node.js will act as an intermediate layer between your OS and your scripts. Okay, so let's finish it. So once we are done with Node.js installation, just go to your CMD, command prompt or terminal if you are using a Mac or other operating systems. Just type node-v. So it gives like v 10.13.0. So we have successful installation of Node.js. Now, after installing Node, we can use any editor, something like VS Code, Eclipse, or WebStorm, or even VS, Visual Studio itself. Okay, but VS Code supports more things than Eclipse. That's why we are going for VS Code. Okay. But if you are addicted with Eclipse, then it will be a bit difficult for you to adjust. But it will be like you can adjust it. It's not a big deal. In a similar way, if you are using WebStorm, then there are options like you can configure the WebStorm itself like your Eclipse. Okay. In this Visual Studio Code setup also, you do not need to create or change any steps. Just you can proceed just like that. Okay. But make sure that you are ticking the add to path. Okay. So basically this add to path will add it into your environment variables.
Okay.
Okay. So for a moment's sake, I'm going to mute both of you people. Okay. So whenever you want to say something, you can come in and you can say. Okay. So unmute yourself. So once we are done with this installation of VS Code, then we can directly go into check how we can write our protractor or how to install protractor. Okay, those parts we can say it. Okay, it's taking a second to open. So have you guys are you guys able to install this softwares like protractor and the other tools?
Yes.
Yes, Pawan.
Okay, so are you guys able to differentiate what is the local installation and what is global installation?
No.
Yeah, I have little bit idea. I use locally, but it is not working. So I just install again globally. That time it is working for me.
Okay, so all the Node.js packages, you guys might have heard about this Maven, right?
Yeah.
So Maven is kind of a remote repository which connects all the other repositories. Like Maven will have their own repository. Okay, this particular repository will download from all the repositories, something like TestNG or Selenium. All from all the companies, it will download and it will keep it in the cloud. So when any user tries to perform installation on the local system using Maven, what happens is like this particular request will go to Maven repositories and it will download from there. Okay. Similarly, we have a npm repository for all the JS modules. Okay, for Node modules. Okay, so this is the software page. So from this particular repository only, we will be installing all the packages. Okay, whenever you say like npm I or npm install a particular package, then all the requests comes here. Okay, and from here the installation happens. So now,
One question: Is there any option? Is there any option like we are using form.xml right in Maven?
yes,
We are using like anything like so that if you put everything like version,
yeah, we
so
have.
that it will download automatically.
Yes, we do have. We will discuss it in further classes. Okay, so there is called build management tools.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we have them, and once we are able to install a certain things, then we will go with that particular thing. So when this one becomes important is like whenever you want to run it on the Jenkins or in Bamboo. In such cases, you might need this particular concepts like how to use a build management tool. But this will not be that much complicated as Maven. It will be very simple in npm. Okay. So so after installing, if you do not have anything, you will not see this particular screen, but you will see a new screen. Okay. So something like, let me open a new window. So this is what you guys will see like if you are installing for the first time. Okay. Now, in a protractor, there is no such thing as called as creating a project. Okay, creating project is in protractor is something simpler, like creating a folder. That's all. Okay, so you can create the folder first itself. Something like let me go to my D drive and I can write something here. Let me write it. Pro batch 1. Okay, so I have created this particular folder and I'm going to create this as a project. Okay, so now just go to file and go with open folder. Okay, this will open your navigator. Now you can choose the required folder to choose. Okay, either you can choose it from here after selecting it here. After selecting it here, you can select the folder, or after going inside also you can select the folder. Okay, so once you select, it will try to showcase all the things present inside that particular folder. So here nothing is present, so you can't see anything. So here we have to create our files and folders. So for example sake, let's create a file called something like JS. Okay, so in protractor, all the test cases are called as specs. Okay, so I'll write test.spec.js. Okay, as of now we will see the JS, and in some time we will be able to see how to do it with TS. Okay, so we have created this particular file. Okay, so now we have to write something here. So even I'm not sure like how to do from the scratch. So let me go to this protractor site and copy the code. Yeah, so but before that one, we have to have all the modules, right? So you can press control and there is a symbol called tilde below the escape. Okay, so the sign looks like this one. So this is the key we have to press. Okay, so just control press that particular key, it will open a terminal. Okay, so in this terminal is nothing but your CMD. Okay, you can open this particular terminal using a view, not view, actually terminal, new terminal here. Okay, now once you receive it, just you need to install a couple of softwares. The first one is protractor. So the installation comes like npm install protractor. Okay, this is the first software we have to install. So in this one we are just writing npm install protractor. This means like download the package protractor from the npm and install it. Where I have to install is the same folder which I am currently present. The folder name is probatch1. Okay, this is the folder we have to install. Okay, so this is the command we are giving to the terminal. So now it will install this particular software in the same folder as the probatch. Here you can see it. So whenever you install any package, it creates a folder called node_modules. Okay, and still it's in a staging stage. So yes.
if we create a new folder,
Okay,
then we have to again install the protractor.
yes, if you are pointing to a local installation, yes, then again in every new folder you have to use it. I mean, like if you are changing the project.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of probatch1, if I create one more folder and I'm writing my scripts there, then again I have to do a npm install protractor.
Yes, That is the problem with local installations.
Okay. Okay.
So this is the local installation, and
Mhm.
local installation is only specific for a particular folder. Okay, so once you move out of the folder, then you cannot access it. Okay, so that is one thing. So this thing is we can overcome this thing by installing the softwares globally, but most of the time we have to install locally and globally. Okay, so let's see where we have the installation. In the same folder, if you go to node models, see, you can see all the installations, right? So these are extra installations. Okay, the only installation what we have installed is this particular folder, but this particular folder might need few more npm packages. Okay, so to run a particular application, we might need a little more applications, right? You guys might have heard about import, right? Importing other packages into current classes, current packages in Java, or if you are using. So similar way, in JavaScript, we will be using a command called require. Okay, so whenever we use a require, what happens is, like, we either have to have it in our installation, or it will be installed. Okay, it will be installed by the npm. Okay, let's go to this protractor package. Sorry, let's go to npm and see how many dependencies are present. So this is the one we are looking for. So here you can see like 16 dependencies. So all this will be installed along with your npm installations. So these are also will be installed along with the dependents and with the protractor. Because if you delete these packages from this particular node models, then your protractor will not work. Okay, most of the time we will not be able to understand what these other packages are, but these are required for protractor. Okay, now we have installed it, but we have not installed globally. Now for installing globally, just you need to add one more parameter. It's something like -g, install protractor -g. Whenever you use -g, it becomes like a global installation. Okay, the global installation is something which occurs at the app data. For example, in your system, if you go to app data, okay, you can see all the installations of this particular thing. Okay, in the app data roaming, just go to npm and inside the node models and TypeScript. Okay, so here we have only TypeScript and nothing else is there. So I'm going to delete this TypeScript as well, because we are trying to install newly everything. Okay, so you can delete every single thing from here. Okay, the moment if I install -g, we will be having this particular npm folder as well as the remaining folders required for npm. Sorry, protractor. So here I am installing npm install protractor -g. So when you have a, let me stop it here. I do not want to install it. So now we have installed protractor locally, right? I have stopped this job. You can stop the job by pressing Ctrl C and then Y. Okay, it will stop the installation. Now let's try to write protractor, just protractor. Let's see what happens. You got this particular error, right? Which means that it tries to check it in the global system, and it tells like if it is not found, it's not found. Okay, so whenever you install a particular protractor or any npm package, even though you are in the same folder, you will not be able to find that particular package by writing its name. Okay, this is one of the thing. With this one, you can ensure that whether you have installed that particular package globally or locally. Okay, so now install this particular npm install protractor-c. By pressing up arrow, you can go to above commands, like the past commands. Okay, now it got installed. The version is 5.4.1. Now if I press the same command protractor, it should open a file. See, we are getting the options like what we want to do with the protractor. This means like we have installed our protractor globally. Okay, so we have installed protractor. Now we want to install a TypeScript because we have installed a tool but not the language. Okay, so now let's try to install protractor TypeScript. So now if you come to this roaming, now you can you can see npm. Now let's go into npm. Here itself we can see protractor and node models. Let's go to node models. Now we see like protractor here. Okay, so after installing a protractor, you might need to install all the remaining things like TypeScript npm install TypeScript -g, and you have to install locally as well. So TypeScript is a Microsoft owned language, but it is in open source as of now. So what happens is like whenever you write any code using a TypeScript, it converts the TypeScript into JavaScript. Okay, so we will be using a compiler. So by this time, it might have installed the compiler for TypeScript as well. You can see the compiler by pressing TSC, TypeScript compiler. See, you can see the all the options, which means like TypeScript also got installed. Okay, so one more tool we have to install along with the protractor. Okay, so whenever you are working with a Selenium, you might have heard like a TestNG for unit testing as a unit testing framework. Similarly, while you are running with a protractor, you need a unit testing framework. Okay, so here you can use Jasmine, Mocha, Chai. Okay, not Chai, but Jasmine, Mocha. But a few people use Mocha, but most of the people prefer a Jasmine, even whether it's in a development or in a testing, they'll be using a Jasmine. Okay, for that we have to install Jasmine as well. npm install Jasmine, first local, and then we will install global as well.
Pawan, I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, why you are installing locally? Again, anyway, if you install globally, right, it will work fine, right?
Yes, it will work fine. Sometimes what happens is like based on your configurations, it will check in your local folders only. I have installed protractor globally, right?
Yeah.
But if you see here in the node models, you have only the protractor folder and TypeScript folder. None other folders are present here because they are installed locally. So it is a better practice that where you can install local and global as well.
Okay, Pawan.
Okay. So we have installed Jasmine as well. Now install TypeScript locally as well. So you guys will get to know like why we install local, global, and these kind of issues while you are installing the softwares and while you are running. Because sometimes whatever you do, it will not run. So you have to debug like local, global, everything. Okay. So we have installed all the softwares required. Now we need to get some code. Okay. Let me get the code from my site itself. So I'm just copying this code, or I can get it from this protractor page itself. Let's get it from protractor page. Okay, so I'm just copying a test case from protractor official site. So in the same folder, we have to create one more file called conf or protractor conf or any name you can give. Okay, so this is going to be your key for your execution. Okay, now copy the conf file. I'll explain what it is. Okay, but as of now, we can consider like. Okay, let me run it, whether it works or not. So for running, we have to write a command like protractor conf.js. Okay, the connection is refused for this particular address. Let's try now. So far we have installed these softwares, but we have not installed anything like Selenium related files. So for that purpose, we have to install WebDriver Manager update. But sometimes what you have to do is like in npm install WebDriver Manager. Sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes npm install WebDriver-manager, because if you do not install, you cannot update it. But most of the time, we will not be using this WebDriver-manager space update. We will be using a local Selenium servers. So why we are using WebDriver-manager space update is like we have to download all the files required for Selenium, which maps with the protractor. You have to download Selenium server jar. I hope you I have told you guys like to download yesterday. So that purpose we can use WebDriver-manager update. So it not only just downloads this Selenium file, it also downloads your Firefox driver as well as Chrome driver. Okay, so when you want to invoke Firefox or Chrome, you need to have a .exe file which connects your Chrome and Firefox. Okay, so previously it was something like Firefox was a built-in, but recently they have Firefox have changed their internal structure, which made that you need to have a .exe file to access the internals. Similarly, Chrome is a open source. Sorry, Chrome is a freeware. So even Google did not give the code to this protractor or for Selenium because they want to keep their code with themselves. So what they have done is like they have given a exe file which connects this particular Chrome. So whatever command you give it in a particular way, that particular exe will convert into some way, and then it will it will send it to your Chrome browser. Okay, it is something like consider like there are three people. One person knows like one language, and there is a translator, and the other guy knows some other language. But now the translator knows both the languages. Okay, so what this first person does is like the person talks to the translator in X language, and this translator understands it and converts to Y language and passes to the third person. Now third person is able to understand it. Okay, this is a simple concept. Why they are going for such concept is like they do not want to give their code into a code to anyone. Okay, it is something like, even though Google gives it for free, but it is not a open source. So previously Firefox was giving us a open source, but now they also decide like not to disclose the code. Okay, so far we have installed WebDriver-manager update. Now let's try to run protractor conf space protractor conf.js. So we are able to open Chrome. Okay, so it just opened something and it closed it. So now let me explain how this test and conf file works. Okay, conf file will not have much of configurations. It has more configurations, but we'll not be seeing today itself like what is the conf file, because you cannot learn the conf file in one day, because whenever there is a requirement, we'll keep on adding the values to the conf file. Okay, so we are just exporting these configurations. Okay, by default protractor takes a Chrome as a default browser. That's why even though we did not mention any browser, it took Chrome and it opened it. Okay, so a specs is nothing but where your test case is present. So there are two kinds of people, like who creates conf.ts file, and some people use conf.js files, even though they are just using TypeScript for their language of coding, but still they will be different. There will be difference between conf.ts and conf.js. No, so some people will move all the JS files to a particular location, and some people will keep their JS files along with their TS files. Okay. So in the test spec, we have a few things, not much of them. So we can change these values. Okay, in future videos we will be playing with this one. So as of now, let me explain what is what. Okay, so every test file will contain like testers and user stories and the verifications. Okay, so first it will start with the import statements. After that we will be writing a describe block. Okay, describe block is nothing but your user story. Okay, and user story can contain multiple test cases, and the multiple test cases are nothing but it blocks. Okay, so a single describe block can contain n number of it blocks, and a single it block can contain multiple expect statements. Similar way, a single file JS file can contain multiple describe blocks. Okay, it goes on. So there are some projects where people treat a describe block as a user story, and some people treat this one as a describe block as a test case. Okay, there are two kind of projects. Okay, so based on your project requirement, you should be able to choose it, like whether to go with the describe as a story or as a test. And when user thinks like describe as a test, then they'll think it block as a verification. Okay, so this is how most of people will write it. So these two are from describe, or what do you call that? I'm sorry. These two are from Jasmine. Okay, so even without them, we can write this code. Okay, something like browser.get and then browser.get title or something like that. Okay, now again open the terminal and just clear the screen and start running the protractor. Okay, just you can write a protractor conf.js as well. If you use a slash also, it will not give you any issues. It still points to the same conf.js file. Now also it's opening the page, but the only thing is you will not get any Jasmine related things. Okay, so it says like expect was used when there was no current spec. Okay, because expect statement must be used along with the it blocks and describe blocks. Okay, so because of that one we are getting the error, but we will not be writing any code this way in a plain way. We always will be using describe blocks and it blocks. So any questions guys so far?
No.
But before you come tomorrow, you guys should be able to start this particular part. You should be able to start the Chrome or Firefox. Okay, just start with the Chrome, and we will see like how to proceed further. So now, so far we have created with the .js files, but our what we are going to learn in this total class is we are going to use TS files. Okay, so let me create one more file here called test2.spec.ts. Okay, and now I'm going to copy the same code into spec file, but this time I'm going to use angular.io. Okay, we will discuss about remaining methods. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, so as of now, ignore this particular error. It is coming because of some Jasmine issues. Now with the recent Jasmine update, they are not able to handle the promises. Okay, now we are trying to open angular.io, but let's say like angular. Now we have a conf file, right? In this case, people might have conf.ts file. So to avoid the confusion, I am creating like protractor hyphen conf.ts file. Okay, in ts file also most of the people will be having only the same code as conf.js file. But only thing is like it will be converted into ts file along with your what do you call that, along with your ts spec files. Okay, so when you have this kind of format, you cannot use ts files. Whatever the situation it is, we will be running protractor conf.js or protractor something.js only. We will be never running protractor something.ts. Okay, so here I'm giving like a ts file. Okay, if I start running, it will fail. Okay, let's see whether it passes or fails. Protractor, and then what is it? Protractor hyphen conf.ts. I'm trying to run. Now it should give error. It started running. It's good actually. Okay, it started running, but we're not getting any issues. It is fine. Now what we got to do is we have to convert these files into JS files. So how do we convert is TSC, then we have to give this particular file names, something like test2, test2, sorry, actually I have given here as a test one, that's why it was able to run. So let me rerun it. Now still it's able to run. Okay, it is fine. So first we have to convert this TS files into JS files, because we want only the TS files, not JS files, not TS files. So for converting, we have to call this TypeScript compiler, and then we have to write the file names we want to convert. So here now you can see like test2.spec.js. So there could be some warnings and there could be some issues, but you should be able to run. Okay. So similar way you can turn the protractor-conf.ts into a JS file by giving its name protractor-conf.js. Sorry, ts. So now this one is also converted. So to run a protractor, we can write protractor and protractor-conf.js. But the only thing is like we have to change it into JS file in the conf files, because conf files always should have only the JS files, not it should never point to a TS files. Okay. So if we run it, it will work. Okay. So, but we are still getting the error because like import browser. Okay.
Can't we use JS files? Why are we converting TS to JS and then running it?
Because most of the time we will be writing on the TS file, TypeScript file. So actually we have seen like how to run it on the JS files. So now we are currently trying to see like how to run the TS files.
Is there any advantage of running in TypeScript file than running in JavaScript file?
Yes. So we will be writing only this particular TypeScript. Okay, we will not be running JavaScript because TypeScript gives you that a structured way of writing code, or something like you can use classes, interfaces like that with the TypeScript. But when you are using a JavaScript, it will not give that flexibility. Okay, in terms of this spec file, you will not have much of flexibility. But when you start creating other files, something like other classes, something like library files or PO files, then you will feel that advantage of TypeScript. Okay, so that will be very short only, but still it will be advantageous.
Okay.
Okay, so that was yeah.
Hello. Yeah, this is Srinivas.
Yes, Srinivas.
Are you able to hear? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Actually, we are converting to the TypeScript to the JavaScript, right?
Yes.
It is a benefit of the TS having the structure way, then you can able to do the all the things. So when you are converting to the JS file also will be getting to the all the interfaces everything. Why don't you go for the directly? You can write it in the JS file.
Yes. So as I explained, like you can keep the structure when you run with the JS files. You will not be exactly going and checking all the JS files. You will be only worried about TS files. For example, here you will be giving a .js, but you will not be actually going and running the JS files. From here only you will do everything. Okay.
Okay. In the spec file, you are talking about the spec file. The spec file you are giving to the top one file that is pointing to your JS file, which is the translated to the from TS to the JS, right?
Right.
Suppose if there any ambiguity is there when you're translating to from TS to the JS, how will be interact with the your TS file here when you're during the execution time?
No. Actually, once you compile, no, it will not have any link between TS file and JS file. Even while converting the TS to JS, you will not have any link. So what it does, like whenever there is an ambiguity, so you can get to know it from the TS file itself. So when you see any JS files converted from TS files, you might see something like this one, protractor_1, something like this one. Okay, so it will handle the ambiguity. Most of the time we will not be having the ambiguity when we are using TS files. Okay, this is kind of advantageous because people are going towards JavaScript and ECMA scripts. Now even JavaScript supports these classes and interfaces with new ECMA versions.
ECMA, okay. 6th version, right? You are talking about?
Yes, because ECMA is a standard that governs these scripting languages.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So so if we leave this one, then we have a few more topics like uh, what do you call that, configuring the run here, and then we will be using tsc -w, sorry, ts config file. Okay, we will be seeing that particular things on the next class. Okay, how to use this run from this debug, and how to configure ts config files, because in other tools, something like WebStorm and all, by default it converts all the TS file into JS files. For VS Code alone, we have to write one single command which will be used throughout our courses, because as I converted sometime back, like TSC hyphen the file name, right? So in similar way, we will not be doing the conversions. We'll always, it will be like automatic. We'll run a command called TSC hyphen W, which will change everything. Okay. And then,
If
yeah.
okay, does it support the any other IDs apart from the Visual Source and WebStorm? So a lot of the IDs are there. Suppose Eclipse and IntelliJ is there. The same way we have to do the conversion, it will be happening.
Yes, the only difference would be something like in WebStorm, sorry, in Eclipse and all, you have to convert, or I'm not sure like whether there is an option to convert them. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
whether you use this particular ID or not, the simple command would be tsc-w. You can run it in your terminal itself. It
No,
not
actually, we are using the Eclipse. That's why we are writing to the JS files all.
okay.
But that's why I'm asking to you whether there is any feasibility to convert to the TS files to the JS file from using the Eclipse. Is
Uh,
there any chance? Do you have any idea of that one?
I'm not sure, but let me see the chances. As of now, I have not configured the Eclipse with the protractor, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll see it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
So I guess that's all for the day, because we are done with the installation. Do you guys have any questions?
No, I have one more doubt. In the if you are going to the any application, okay, this is the open source tool, so we are directly we are downloading from the npm packages repository.
Right.
But I don't want to go for the npm repository. I
Okay.
would like to go for the our artifactory, proprietary artifactory of the client, company wise. Some artifactory IDs or
Okay.
artifactory is there.
Okay. Okay.
So how should you configure that one in the way of the approach?
Okay.
I don't want to use the npm repository. I want to use the company proprietary site.
Okay. Okay. I
I need to
understand.
download from
Yeah.
them.
Right. Right. Most of the organizations restrict their installations because they
Right.
are checking for the
And
viruses. Yeah.
yeah, at the same time, then we need to configure something. Do you have any idea of the settings, those restrictions side? Which one we have to register and we have to put settings in that area?
Okay. So as of now, I do not have, but in the next section, I'll tell you like how to install from the artifacts. But most of the people, what they will do is they will use a proxy.
Right. Yeah.
Most of
Proxy.
the
Yeah.
organization, they will use HTTP and HTTPS, two proxies they will use, and through that proxy they will try to install it.
So I set it that one. I need some clarification on that. Next section, can you give the 1 or 2 minutes? That
Yeah, sure. We will be able to do that one. Okay.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's all for the day, guys. And okay, the one more thing is like, so tomorrow I'll not be taking the class because I want you guys to think like whether to join the session or not. So if you think like you can join, then you can make your payment tomorrow, and Friday onwards. So we'll be going on full-fledged on this one.
Yeah. What is the payment? Yeah. Just I am saying this is the first class. I listen this one. What is the payment?
It is 10K.
10K it will be. But is there any videos or sections are already existing one? This is the first batch.
This is the first batch.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to see, like,
whom to discuss this one, all the things? Can I call to you or somebody?
yes,
Can
you
you?
can. Yeah, you can call to me.
Yeah. Can you give me your number, please?
Yes, it is if you want to call me, then I can give you other number. But if you want to WhatsApp me, I'll have a different number. Okay. So, anyways, just drop your mail. I'll be sending my number, or just note
Okay,
down.
sure.
This is my number.
Yeah.
If you want to
Okay.
call, 900-338-122
900.
3384.
Yeah, 900
So WhatsApp number would be, sorry, this is going to be the WhatsApp number, and sometimes if I don't pick, you can give a call, or if I don't have a signal, you can give a call to second number, 897-167-3487.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Your name is Praveen, right?
Pawan.
Pawan. Okay.
Okay. So if you have any doubts, other doubts, something like whether I will be able to handle the class or not, you can see it in the website. Okay, and based on that one, you can decide it. Okay, guys. Tomorrow there is no class, so if you think it's
Yeah.
good to join, you can join. Okay, you can make the payment tomorrow. Okay, so there is no class tomorrow, but we'll continue it on Friday.
Okay.
On Friday.
Yes, and
Okay.
Srinivas, if you are joining first day, means like we do not have classes on weekends.
Okay, sure. Okay.
It always
Yeah.
starts at 9:45.
9:45 your time, IST time, right?
Yes.
Okay. My time is around. Okay, I will check this, sir. My
Okay.
physical time, office time is probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Sure.
you. Yeah. No.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Think and join if possible. So from Friday onwards, whoever made a payment, they will be getting the links for this session itself. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
How to do this?